Good morning, Faith Bible family. Merry Christmas and welcome to week 3 of our Advent video series. This morning we're looking at a passage that sticks in my mind every single time I read it. It's a picture that Paul paints of the incarnation that has practical bearing for us today, even though it spoke intimately of a practical matter in his ministry 2,000 years ago. Now, when you think about what makes you, you, the first thing that comes to your head is probably not the stuff that you own. Those things are kind of the outer layer, the trappings or the privileges of our position in life. But whether you like it or not, what that outer layer does is it communicates a lot about us to other people. The way we dress, the houses we live in, and the way that we decorate them, the cars that we drive, the tools that we use, the money that we spend, says a lot about us. It tells people about our priorities, but it also tells people about our personalities. If you strip away that outer layer, then what is left to communicate to people who you are? We often look at the incarnation and think about it as a gift. God sending us his Son, God taking on our humanity to relate to us and to live with us like we saw last week. But gifts always cost something for the one who gives them. And that's what Paul looks at in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 9. Let's go ahead and read that verse together. For you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that though he was rich, yet for your sake he became poor, so that you, through his poverty, might become rich. This passage says so much in such a little amount of time about what the incarnation meant for the God who was incarnated. When we think about what makes God God, so often we think about the trappings and the privileges that come with his position, his power or his immeasurable wealth or resources, the cattle on 1,000 hills. But Paul says that the incarnation is God emptying his bank account. For our sakes, he became poor so that we, through his poverty, might become rich. But when you strip away that outer layer, what is it that remains to let people know who God is? According to Paul, it is grace. You know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Far from the incarnation impoverishing God of who he is, it was the ultimate expression of who he is. He is a God who gives everything so that we, through his poverty, might become rich. Of course, all of this comes in the context of Paul's collection for the needy in Judea. And Paul's point is this: we give because Jesus gave for us. Do you remember the story of the rich young man in the Gospels? When Jesus tells him to go sell his possessions and give to the poor, he's not giving him a command that Jesus himself is unwilling to follow. If we serve a God who generously became poor for us, we must be generous with the people around us. As we celebrate Christmas this year, I can think of no better time to reflect the generosity of a God who became poor for us. How can you use the resources that God has given you in an incarnational way this week? May God bless you. Merry Christmas, and I'll see you again next week.